Hello everyone, my name is Mark Kelly. Welcome to the Northland Artists Conversation. It's lovely to see you here. Well, week 2 now, and this is the second week of New Zealand Music Month. It's 25th anniversary celebration. So here at Northland Artists Conversation, we're doing things a little bit differently this month. We're taking little bits and pieces from some of our musical guests that we've had on the podcast, and we've been very fortunate to have a lot on. So we're just taking little bits of chunks of cool stuff. We're going to touch on things like what it's like to be a musician throughout in Northland and also New Zealand, and for any of our international touring artists as well. Cool stories and bits and pieces, and some of the highlights and lowlights that you do face as a musician. As someone who has previously been a musician and has actually had a lot of fun with New Zealand Music Month, for me this was really important. I actually still have a New Zealand Music Month hoodie in my wardrobe, and it's just really cool, really cool. So I'm going to flick to my wide cam, well, not my wide, my close-up camera, where I can edit Lee-Joe, hopefully make me look even more attractive than I am. So some of the clips we're going to play from some of today's guests, they're going to be Ryan Beehre, who was in the electronic band Minuit. He used to live, so originally started in Nelson, moved to Northland, and has moved back to Nelson, but still an amazingly cool guest. Local sort of smooth soul singer, kind of got that lovely R&B tones, Ryan Karaka. We've also got Sean McDonnell. Sean, thank you so much. Sean was one of the amazing artists that came and played at our 2-year anniversary celebration that we had last year. Thanks, mate. Really appreciate it. And we've also got the ridiculously talented Sophie Sparrow. Sophie was kind of a bit of a get for us. Originally from here, she spends a lot of time in Vienna as a soprano. So, yeah, she's got a wealth of knowledge, some super cool stuff. So I'm going to just shut up now, and I'm going to let you guys enjoy week 2 of the podcast that celebrates New Zealand Music Month. Here we go. What was it about it that made it cool? Was it the touring? Was it the performing? Was it the interacting with other people before and afterwards? Was it all of it? What was there anything specifically about it that you enjoyed more?
Well, I think maybe it was a bit of the factor of it's all of it, all of those pieces.
Right, okay.
Were enjoyable, so it was pretty intoxicating, really.
Yeah. How long did you do it for?
There was a year that we did it, but that we trained for 3 months, putting it together. And yeah, I suppose with the training side of it, that wasn't as fun. I mean, I guess suddenly we got on the tour and doing things, and then it was like, oh wow, okay, this is the part I really like. This is really good. Well, which is understandable, but that's kind of how it went.
Because you've got the discipline beforehand, right? You've got to sit down, learn the songs, and then you've got to go through them, and then you essentially have to take a bunch of individuals from around the country that you've never met before, and suddenly work together as a tight, cohesive band. It's not like a bunch of mates that you've kind of grown up with, and you all pick an instrument, and then you're like, well, we know each other. We know you have a shorthand and that sort of stuff. So was that sort of quite challenging for you?
Definitely there was a difference. So all the musical kind of band experience prior to that was, as you say, a bunch of mates, in the garage kind of trying to pull it together. It was a fun challenge. Yeah, there were things I had to learn that were challenging for me, like like doing guitar solos by Nuno Bettencourt or something like that, and we had to pull something together.
Oy.
Yeah, so I spent a few hours, trying to learn that. That's an understatement. A few hours. But I mean, the playing too was really good, and you learn a lot about it because you kind of, if you're doing it that much, or you kind of, I guess you get an idea of what makes things good or not. I don't know, hard to explain, I think, but yeah, I think, as you say, mentioned before, all those aspects of it. I enjoyed. It feels like, looking back, I enjoyed all of them.
Yeah. So you did Y1 for a year?
A year.
Oh, are you only allowed to do it for a year, or
that's just how they would change teams every year.
So
that was
roll
actually
in a new cast of players.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that was actually the last Y1 band.
Oh, right.
Youth for Christ. I think or the guys that were running that one went on to they left that, so Y1 wasn't a thing anymore, and they went on to create Excel, which was like a performing arts, Christian-based performing arts kind of school thing that they did in Auckland.
Okay, right.
I might have that wrong, but that's how I remember it.
Okay. Where did you go? So you do your year of touring.
Yep.
You're 19?
I was 19, yeah.
Where do you go to next?
So I met my friend Lance on Y1, and
Okay.
he was from Nelson, and during the tour I started writing songs myself, like writing out ideas for songs, I suppose, lyrics, chord progressions, with the idea that, hey, one day maybe start a band and record these songs and play them like what we're doing here with Y1, and Lance was kind of, he was such an eccentric dude, we decided that we would form a band. Boom. And we'd down in Nelson. So the idea was we'd go down to Nelson.
Yes.
Pick apples and raise enough money to buy amplifiers.
Right, yeah.
And then get covers gigs, and then the covers gigs would pay for a recording of these original songs that were starting to get formed.
Yep.
In the back of the bus, writing down in these. I've still got the diary journal thing that I wrote. That I started writing those original things in. Yeah,
wow,
it's quite cool. Yeah, it's fun.
So you get to Nelson.
Yep.
You and Lance start doing your thing.
Yeah, and my brother followed me too. So he's younger than me, a year and a half younger than me, and he came down to Nelson as well. And he was going to play. So the idea was he was going to play bass. Lance was the vocalist. Okay. And so we had to find a drummer.
Right.
Basically.
Yes.
Yeah, and which we did. And my really good friend Aaron. And then we had a band in Nelson. We were picking apples and we were playing covers gigs, bought big amplifiers, and we paid for a recording. And in Wellington, we cruised over to Wellington and recorded these songs. So we did exactly what we set out to do.
Tick off the milestones.
As young adults, that was a pretty looking back, I think that was quite an achievement for us. We were really dedicated to this cause.
Have you still got that album?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
It's funny, you never lose it, eh?
Yeah.
And I bet that's travelled with you all around the country.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. That's always in the things you must take with you.
How long were you doing that before you made the transition over to electronic music? Because there comes a point in your career where the guitar gets put down, but the sampler gets picked up.
Yeah.
When roughly did that happen, and what inspired that to happen? Because going from guitar-driven music to electronic-driven music are very, very different genres. What was it for you?
I think, I know. Okay, so the artists the first thing that kind of like made me turn around, and go, oh, what's that?
Right, okay.
So
there was another genre of music, and you heard someone in particular, and you went, ooh, what's this?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that was Tricky.
Tricky?
Yep.
Oh, man.
So I heard Tricky.
Yeah.
And then went, oh my goodness, this is cool. There's something going on here that I really dig. And, oh, wow. So...
Now, Tricky, for those people that don't know, is an English electronic musician, right?
Yep.
Yep, he's British.
Yep.
Sort of one of the early progenitors of the popular electronic music that came out of Britain around the time of Prodigy and stuff like that. Is that right?
Yeah, it would have been around that time, and he was kind of kicking around with Massive Attack. I think he was on some of their recordings, and he was doing, he put out his own album.
Yeah.
So Massive Attack heard Tricky, and then of course Massive Attack was another big one. As well.
Mezzanine.
Yeah, but this was before Mezzanine.
Oh,
so,
right.
Blue Lines and what was the other one after Blue Lines? It escapes me right
the
now,
one that's before Mezzanine.
Yep.
Yeah.
So just all that scene. Of course, Portishead as well.
Yes.
So it was a bit of an explosion around that time, and there was lots of great stuff coming
Yep.
out. And so I was trying to get my hands on as much. So there was a group of us down there, basically. So out of the band had kind of parted ways at this stage. We'd done the recording,
okay,
parted ways, but there was a scene in Nelson of musos, and I was kicking around with Ruth and Paul, who then became Minuit with me, and we were playing in a covers band, and Lance was actually our singer at that point, and Ruth was playing the drums, and she liked Tricky as well. And so we would, so enthused about this stuff, and then a Rebirth of Cool 5 came out as well, and that was a real head turner for me. I don't know if you remember that one, but that was just like one of those cafe style CDs. Every cafe had it.
Yeah,
but
I remember the range.
Good.
Yeah,
the range. Yeah, so you had Paul Weller doing. He had like an electronic thing on it there because he was basically guitar based prior to that, and who were the other artists on there?
Yeah, those CDs around.
But, it was all the music was fantastic.
Yeah. You had, around that sort of time, if I remember rightly, because you're in your early 20s at about this point, eh?
Yeah.
I was running a music store in Gisborne, so all of the artists that you're talking about, yes, I remember that explosion of British dance acts or electronic artists that were just coming out. It was huge. It was unlike anything. I mean, I remember Babylon Zoo.
All right. Yeah.
When he came out with the song Spaceman, it was just...
Yeah.
You had the album, with Portishead, they had Dummy, Massive Attack had Mezzanine. They're all considered very much landmark albums now because of what they did for the genre and the time.
Yeah.
So you've got Ruth, yourself, and you've got Paul, and you're in a band with your mate, and then an interesting thing happens, and I've read it in your bio, is that your mate leaves, and then you decide to almost shove Ruth out in front and go, congratulations, you're the singer, off you go.
Yeah.
Now, and that is that sort of where the birth of Minuit comes from.
Yeah, it does.
Because you were originally a guitar band.
Yep.
And then lineup changes and personnel shifting around, and then suddenly it's an electronic band.
Yep.
Okay. What was I'm curious to know. You remembered your first guitar, a Gibson knockoff. That was one of the early ones that you'd picked up, right?
Oh, yeah.
Can you remember what your first piece of electronic kit you bought was? You can?
Yeah, it would have been the ASR-10 sampler.
And that's Roland, Akai...
Insonic.
Yeah,
Insonic was the brand, ASR-10 was the model, and it was this kind of big keyboard thing. Man, the guy... Prodigy album Fat of the Land had come out as well, and we were just like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
And I went into the music store, and he had this sampler in there, and I was looking, and it goes, okay, so you can loop up stuff on this, right? I can make a drum loop on this. and then he goes, yeah, you can do that. I said, can I make an album like Fat of the Land with this? And he said, of course you can, Ryan. So it's like, I have this thing with music store salesmen who would like sell me left-handed guitars and promise me the world.
Yeah. Yes, this keyboard will let you
this
produce
is it, man. You can
a
make
multi-million-dollar album.
Something like Fat of the Land or this. And but I learned so much about I guess, looping for a starter. I mean, that's all I wanted to do. I mean, I was just thinking about that Rebirth Call 5 album too. I mean, I think the thing, the crossover there with the guitar stuff and the electronic stuff, you had guys on there like Ben Harper had a song on there that was remixed by someone. I forget who it was remixed by, but it was just this fat beat with this great guitar. Ben Harper, I absolutely love his guitar style. And there was this kind of crossover with it. You had the great guitar, and then you had this just sublime beat going on. It was like, holy wow.
I think during that period of time, you had a lot of artists that were starting to experiment outside of their particular genre as well. And Ben Harper, very acoustic driven, hooking up with electronic artists. And I was into metal at the time, and Fear Factory's Demanufacture was out, and they had a whole bunch of international artists like Junkie XL and stuff like that remix their stuff into a dance album called Remanufacture. So that sort of thing was quite common. Like you get your CD singles. Man, I'm going to go right back here. CDs, boys and girls, are the round things that you used to put into Discmans that would have music on. You'd have your single, for example, but then you might have a couple of different remixes by different artists, or like a radio edit and stuff like that.
You always buy them for those other edits.
Absolutely. I know I did. Because sometimes you'd find a little nugget in there, and it would be like, oh, that's the reason I got it.
Yeah.
So you've got this piece of kit.
Yeah.
You're starting to make your own beats and samples.
Yeah.
And then Minuit transitions. Now, I had to do a bit of research on this. Minuit, and let me see if I got this right. Minuit is French for midnight. And your guys, Minuit's career, wasn't it wasn't a slow burn. Like, you guys got pretty popular pretty quick.
Well, that's not how I remember it.
Really?
There felt like a long time in coming up with that first album. I think things moved really fast for us once the album came out.
88, is
the
that
88,
right?
yeah.
Because you also had a couple of EPs prior to that.
Prior to that, yeah.
Yeah. See, having looked at it, you guys formed, and then it was kind of like EP, bit of time, EP. Album, I think it was like 2 EPs in an album, or an EP in an album. I can't remember exactly how it was, but it seemed like once 88 dropped, which was the first album, it was like, we got a nice trajectory, things are good, people are starting to notice. 88 drops, it's just straight up from that point onwards. And your exposure was massive.
Yeah, it was great. We printed 500 copies of the 88 and thought, that might have been a bit too much, but that was gone, I think, so fast. And then that's when we knew, oh wow, people are enjoying this. They like it.
Yeah, and that's when the national coverage started happening. And as we were talking about before, TV appearances. I first discovered Minuit on the TV series Space, which used to be on, I've got to make sure I get this right, on Friday nights. I think it's either 9 to 11 or 10 till midnight. It was in the later part of the evening. And I remember watching Ruth's voice. For anyone that's listening or watching the podcast, I highly recommend having a YouTube or a Spotify search of Minuit, spelled Minuit. The songs are amazing. I think they still hold up to this day. Before you turned up, I'll be honest, I went through a lot of your catalogue and had a listen to some of it. The electronic production still sounds really, really good. Ruth's voice, very, very interesting. I found it very Björk. And the tone. Did that help? Because it's not like the singer for Golden Horse, where it's a bit more traditional sounding. It's very out there. And then on top of the really interesting beats and samples and production that you guys were doing, do you think that's what sort of helped grow so quickly? Were you relentless touring musicians?
I think yes. I think that would have been a big factor of what people were turned on to by
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Absolutely. She had such a unique style, and it was presented in this different format that wasn't, it wasn't your traditional rock or pop sound behind it. It was, what are these guys doing? And then you've got this voice on top, and then Ruth presenting it how she does.
Amazing stage presence. And on your YouTube channel, you've got the final concert that you have. It's like an hour and a half video.
Yeah.
And I started watching that, and I'm going to go back and have a listen to it when we're finished recording. I won't do that while you're in the middle of talking, because that's rude. But the whole presentation that you guys had was just so different, and that was what made it really interesting. The time, how long were you in Minuit for in total? Like, how long did the band go for?
15 years.
Wow. And you lived in Nelson the whole time?
No.
Oh, right.
No, we moved around a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was we were in different places for most of it, I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of the internet got a lot more user friendly.
Yes, it did.
So just a lot of traveling for rehearsals and then putting the records together. Really.
That raises a very interesting question. Rehearsals. You guys toured internationally, and all three of you are living in different parts of New Zealand or the world?
For the most part, New Zealand.
Okay.
Ruth and Paul did a stint in Australia for a little bit.
Yeah,
it wasn't that long, and then I would cruise over there and we'd do shows and yeah.
Okay, how do you rehearse for shows when you're in different countries? Is it like, let's jump on a webcam, or do you literally have to pack up everything and head?
You make the sound check longer.
Is that it? Is that honestly it?
Sometimes, yeah.
So you might not have played a show for like 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you're like, oh, cool, we've got this short run of like a dozen shows, for example. Great. Let's have a 2-hour long sound check. Okay, we're still awesome. Let's play the set and kill it.
That was the case sometimes, yeah. I mean, that happened.
Wow.
But for other things, we would book out rehearsal rooms.
Right, okay.
But sometimes that was the go.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, with the electronic style of presenting the music too, I mean, I at some points of it, I enjoyed the fact that you could almost remix the song while we're doing it, So it could go in different places, depending on the crowd.
Yes.
Participation and the energy, for example. I mean, that's what we really loved about playing live, was this, and that was, just the way it's different from playing guitar and drums and bass. It was, you've got a machine in front of you and playing loops and
you can do
different
pitch shifting
sounds
and modulations.
Effects wise, you can manipulate it on the fly to a huge degree.
Yeah.
And the scope and dynamic, it just felt like there was a lot of it, and that was enjoyable, and it was fun to play like that.
Very freeing, I would imagine, because essentially you could almost say no 2 nights are going to be the same.
Yeah.
Because it depends on the vibe you're getting from the crowd, right?
Sure.
If you're like, oh man, the crowd are really hitting it hard tonight, let's I'm gonna sound really ignorant here. Let's get some wubs going, or
sure.
Whatever. You kind of feel for the crowd. Does that how would that have, was that an easy thing to like transition through? Because I know I was a singer. I was in a metal band for 7 years, and obviously with like your traditional instruments, you kind of can't just suddenly start going off on an 8-minute long solo unless you're Leonard Skinner in the songs Freebird. But how would that have been for Ruth when you and Paul are at the back, you're feeling it, you're mixing your ass off and it's all really good? Is she going, okay, when do I come in?
Yeah, I think there were times like that.
Okay, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
But there were also times when we would almost follow her for what
Right.
would come
Yeah.
next as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't go right every time.
Were there any? I mean, I played a few shows where they're not train wrecks, but where you're like, it's probably not our best one. Do you have many of those nights?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hopefully not many, but they happened.
they do.
Yeah.
Gear breaks down.
Yeah. Oh man, I remember getting into the back of the sampler with a knife, a butter knife that the venue, that was the only sharpest thing we had, or closest thing to a screwdriver we could do to get in, and somehow I fixed it. I don't know what. I just remember the knife and the sampler wasn't working, and just crazy, man. But yeah.
Wow. So was this during a show as well?
Oh, it was just before. I think
before,
the sound
right.
check, something had happened. It was like, we've got to play. Sampler's not working. I think I know what it is. I just need to get in there, and stuff like that.
Half of me was, I didn't really think I was a great singer, and I guess the other half was, if I was, I don't want people to know, because I really wanted to be a rapper. I was like, at the time, my mother was really on my case, like, she's like, you can't be both. You got to pick one, and why would you want to be a rapper? There's already 5 rappers here. Why don't you be a singer? And I think the thing that kind of pushed me over the edge was kind of the whole, if you've got a particular talent, why wouldn't you use it?
Yeah, absolutely.
At the start, that's what stuck in my head, and I was like, oh, damn.
Yeah. Okay. So you're like, I'm a good rapper. I think I'm a better rapper than I am singer.
Oh, no, I was not a good rapper.
But did you think you were a better rapper than singer?
Probably not.
Oh my God.
I mean, we got to perform at Parachute, which was awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, but other than that, nah, no way. I was more of a, I guess you could say my raps were more of poems than raps.
Oh, like spoken word type stuff?
Yeah, I'd never rap them now, ever.
Okay. Can you give us a few bars?
No way.
No, that's fine.
No way.
I do understand.
It'd haunt me. Do you want your channel to collapse? Because it might.
Well, we had Tim Bell on and we're still going, so it can't be that bad.
So yeah, it was a journey.
Yeah.
But what I will say, MCing did for me was the ability to write.
Yes.
Because I will say that about singing versus rapping. Like, rappers will write stories.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's just one segment of a song for them.
Yeah.
Like, they've got 7-8 pages for a singer.
Yeah.
A whole page could be a song. For a rapper,
I'll agree with that.
You go 7-8 pages. That might just be their section in the song.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was a singer in a band for 7 years, and as you said, often for me it would be one page would be like a 3.5-4 minute song, because I'm not. I think the difference between singing and rapping, it's you're often trying to get your rhyming schemes with words and syllables and things like that. So you're getting your flow out as fast as possible. But with singing, it can be like, I'm going to hold a note, and that will be a line, and that'll be a bar of music, and you'll be like, oh, and then music's playing underneath.
And I think with another thing that I stole from rapping that I put into singing. And this, again, might be a controversial statement here, because people might be like, singers did it first. But the ability to hide messages on messages on messages within a song.
I think Judas Priest did that. It didn't work out that well for them.
Yeah, so yeah, like a lot of MCs will hide meanings.
Yes.
And their words will have maybe double, triple, 4, 5, 6 different meanings.
Yep. So, for anyone that's watching or listening, I highly recommend... there's a YouTube video which talks about the different styles of rap flow and how rappers do that. They reference Biggie's Hypnotize as a song that just kind of changes the structure and has got multi-layered meanings in there. It's very, very well done. Like, as someone who's not educated with the hip-hop world...
Yeah.
Thanks, Andrew. It's been really interesting to see, because obviously, collaborating with Andrew and this sort of stuff, I show him the metal, he shows me the hip hop, and that's probably why we get on so well. So you moved to Northland having passed music with flying colours in the end.
Yeah, well, most people did. I ended up having to sing Stand By Me, and it was everything I feared it would be. But the worst part is the first half of the song, I just sat there mumbling into the mic and singing like the... And then I went, if I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail great.
Yeah, fail big.
And so I just started belting, but I had to look at the wall. I could not look at the people in the room.
Really?
I just turned around and started singing at a wall.
Yeah.
You know, because
Okay.
nothing gets you friends better than singing to a wall.
Yeah. It's stage presence. Connecting with the audience.
And they said, yeah, they quite often say when you sing, if you have silence in the crowd, either it's going really well or it's going really bad. The horrible thing with that when you're the singer is you don't know until the end which it is.
Yep. I'll agree with that statement too.
So you're sitting there going, they love me.
Yeah.
And then a tomato hits you in the face and you go, they absolutely loved me.
Yeah, it's a past tense.
So yeah, it's it was a frightening experience. It was experience which ended up being the first kick in the butt that I needed to actually start singing. And then fast forward to Northland.
And then you moved to Northland. Now, when you moved here, did you sort of connect with like-minded people? Did you sort of dive straight on into singing, or did you kind of go, no, I'm going to have a crack at this rap thing again?
Well, like you mentioned metal before. The funny thing is, my flavor for music just started going everywhere. Like I was addicted to Queen at that point.
Oh,
and then from band. Queen, just to switch it up, I started listening to Cannibal Corpse and Slipknot and all these other bloody heavy metal bands death metal bands actually.
Yeah.
And I was sleeping to that stuff. And then I was like, but I'm an R&B singer. But what did you listen to? Like Hammer Smash Face all the way. So when we got to Northland, we were confused people because me and my brother were both into death metal and we were going for the look and everything.
Really?
And we turned up here and what do you do? Oh, I rap.
but you look like a bogan.
Yeah, but I like metal, but I rap. Yeah, it was crazy. And then I guess I joined music because I thought, cool.
Yeah, I've passed once. How hard can it be?
I can easily sing karaoke and pass. This will be great. This will be great credits.
An easy win.
Yeah. But then, I traded my short little brown Maori teacher for a optimistic white piano playing genius that, not that colour means anything, but just he actually did music. And I was like, okay, cool. So I'm in music now.
Yeah.
What do I do? Can you read music? Mate, I can't even read English. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean can I read music? Yeah, and then they started hitting me with the semi-quavers and stuff, and I thought, man, this guy, he's trying to have a fight with me, clearly.
Yeah. What do you mean bass? I'm going to give you the treble across the face soon.
What do you mean? Yeah, I can't afford semi-quavers.
Yeah.
What are you talking about, mate? I've got my own lunch. Leave me alone. Yeah, it was a moment for sure, and they rightly gave me a kick up the pants, and I kind of realized that just being able to sing is not going to get you through music.
No.
And then I had to start practicing other stuff, which was interesting in its own right. So in school, I did a little bit of sound engineering from that same teacher. And I was so lucky at the time because I think he did a certificate level in sound engineering. And we were like the last students to be able to do it.
Oh, wow.
Before he was like, I'm out of here.
Oh, shit. Okay.
And that ended up being a ridiculous ticket into what I eventually went and done later, which was go to Mains in Auckland.
Wow, audio engineering.
Yeah, but I wanted to go earlier, sooner rather. Like at the time, I was like, I know what I want to do with my life.
Yeah.
Why do I want to sit here and make little glass cups and do woodwork and
Yeah. What's this math shit? I don't know.
when I know what I want to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, funnily enough, as soon as I did the sound engineering and passed,
Yeah.
I was like, I'm off. Where do I go now? And to go to mains, when you were not 18, you had to audition and pass.
Right. Okay.
So you can go there when you're 18,
Yeah.
but
yeah.
if you're not 18 and you want to go earlier, at the time, I don't know what it's like now, but you actually had to prove that you should have a spot there,
Wow. Okay.
which was awesome because it ignited a huge amount of competition in me,
Yeah.
which was already stirring when I was with a group. The producer might know this. I was with a group called OBC at one point
Oh,
there.
we've heard them mentioned once or twice. Yeah, it's a real vanity project by the sounds of things.
Oh, but they were instrumental in helping me grow as a musician in person too.
Yeah.
And amazing guys in there, like amazing talent in all aspects too. Obviously they were MCs, but their writing abilities were ridiculous. Their flair for music was ridiculous. They were awesome. And I had the opportunity to obviously be a part of that, which was cool.
Yeah.
And from that point, we wrote a song called Summertime Vibe, which then stirred a little bit of, it got a little bit of backing from the community, I guess.
Yep.
And then from there, I was like, I want to keep competing and getting bigger and
Yeah.
seeing what I can do. And then I started going to Auckland and trying to compete with bands there.
As someone who would prefer to be behind the scenes and not in the spotlight, how have you found your creative output now? Because obviously OBCs they're becoming more active and they'll gig and stuff like that. Will you be on stage or will you be writing, or will you be both?
Probably both, to be fair. I do have a performer's bug. I mean, most people do when they write and sing music.
Yep.
I mean, look at Jessie J. She just popped out of the spotlight and went, "Hey, look at me, I'm awesome."
Yes. Well, she started off writing.
Exactly.
She'd written
For
just
a while.
songs for a long time. Then
And
she was
then-
like, "Cool, I'm just going to drop that money song
Yeah, and I've got a
on
voice.
price
Listen
tag."
to it.
Yeah,
So
yeah. She did incredibly well for herself.
I guess I like performing, and I found out later on that I actually do have fans out there. That I actually do have people that listen to my music and even know every word to the song,
wow.
certain songs, and
Yeah.
you're like, "Oh, that's crazy!" And you kind of want to do it for them
Yeah.
because,
Yep.
like, if one of my favorite artists just up and went, "You know what, stuff this, I'm out," I'd be gutted. Like if Tori Kelly came out tomorrow and said, "I'm never going to sing again," I'd be gutted. I'm a huge fan of hers. So
Yes.
as an artist and someone that enjoys art, that would be very sad to hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think in that aspect too, sometimes I'm like, for me, it's a confidence thing because I think I can sing, but I don't think that I'm at a level where I can make a living off singing. So
Is it the okay? So I have a question to challenge that a little bit. When you're in the studio,
yeah,
you can sing, right?
Yeah, most of the time.
But when you're on stage, you have to sing and perform.
yeah.
Now, is it the singing or is it the actual performance? Because there are
That's a
so
good
many
question.
there are so many musicians that are not great by any stretch of the imagination, but they are performers.
Well, I also did drama in school.
Right?
And I would say, I don't know why I keep clicking my tongue like that. I would say that I see, just like a metronome, eh? Just can't talk into a mic without a metronome. Just make my own metronome. So I think that if you're going to be a performer
Yeah.
and you're in school and you're listening to this podcast,
Mm-hmm.
take drama as well, because you do have to have a second personality up there. You have to have a stage presence or
Absolutely.
it's way too hard to silence your personal self
Yes.
if you don't have a mask. And it does feel like a mask, but if you don't have a, almost like a Batman cape to put on, like, this is who I am when I'm on stage, but off stage I'm just Ryan.
Yeah.
it's hard to actually embrace the role
Yeah.
when you're just being yourself, because what people are coming to see is, as a performance, is not how, like, it's not how you're going to be in real life.
Well, yeah, and I mean, imagine for someone like yourself, who you, by your own admission, said you do D&D and you have a bit of a geek in you.
Yeah, there you go.
Could you see, what would the inner Ryan look like if he was on stage? You get up there, you do these smooth songs, and then in between songs you go, I'm going to rock you guys harder than I rock this 12-sided die. Here's our next track.
Yeah, there
just-
you go. I'd probably be
People
like,
would be like, what?
I'd probably be like a chubby little half-elf nerd guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you're cosplaying up there.
All right?
Yeah.
That'd be real Ryan. Performer Ryan would look like a gladiator for sure.
Absolutely. Performer Ryan
Sure.
goes to the gym and looks solid, like
Would
he's
look
an
like-
extra from
Would
Gladiator.
look like a gladiator with a fluttery voice
Yeah, there you go.
that likes butterflies.
Yeah, smooth tones.
Yeah. So it's, yeah. I would say both. Sorry, to come back to the answer to the question.
Yeah, sure.
I do like the performance side, but I think you pour more of yourself into the writing.
Yeah.
So it's more personal for you. The performance stuff is like fun. That's where you get a buzz. You get to have fun with hopefully pairs of people that enjoy your art.
Yeah.
So you get up there and that's like the payoff for all the hard work and all the pouring your passion into your art form is that when you get on stage, you get to have fun with these people.
Yeah.
I guess it's not too dissimilar, again, from D&D, where you do all the character creation stuff.
Yeah.
But then once you finally get to the table, I am this character now.
Yeah.
So now I just get to have fun with it and do what I
Yeah.
want, and it's freaking amazing.
But it's not you.
But it's not me.
But it's a part of you that's
Yeah.
ramped up to 10.
Exactly. And I guess you're not as sensitive. You're not as sensitive when you're being the performer.
No.
It's a lot more intimate when people are judging your artwork that they don't know where it's coming from. Because let's be fair, most music is coming from a pretty emotional place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for me, like I get this a lot, they're like, oh no, did this happen in your life? I write of things that I see as well.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't just...
So it's not lived, it's also observed.
Absolutely. It's not,
Yeah.
you draw from so many different aspects of life. So it's not, I'm not sitting there going, because if people listen to my songs, they'll be like, bro, this guy's been in love like 4,000 times. What's wrong with him?
Yeah.
Or,
He's got abandonment issues.
when did his best friend die? Like, what was, it's,
Yeah, yeah.
it's, you take from, like, I think one of my earliest songs I wrote for a wedding.
Oh, wow.
And the wedding, and it was called Simple Things. And it was the song that got me into the Fly My Pretty experience.
Oh, right.
So
wow.
essentially I just went, okay, if I was the groom,
Yeah.
which I'm not, but if I was,
Yeah.
what would that look like to me?
Yeah.
You know, my life's about to change. She's becoming my family.
Yeah.
In my head, this I'll probably be the mother of my kids, so on and so forth, right? So I thought in that moment, how much magic could you create? Or how would it feel?
Yeah.
And so I was writing from not my perspective, but from hopefully his perspective.
Yeah, sure. I get that.
Suppose I'm just talking for myself, but I imagine it's the same for many creatives, that where your location really influences and affects the work that you make.
Sure. Yeah.
And so for a long time, up until it's weird because I've been up north for a while, but only in the last 5 years I've been doing more sort of peaceful, really nature inspired works.
Yeah.
Before that, I was doing a lot of works that were quite confrontational. And
Right.
a lot of skulls. I suppose it's like you with your heavy metal music.
Yes. Yep. Well, we go through phases,
Ye-
right?
Well, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
And so I had a lot of skulls, and I had a lot of internal body, like big hearts.
Okay.
And I was I think it's because I've very much been interested in the brevity of life.
Yes.
And the beauty and the brevity of it, and I was just wondering, because we've all lost friends and relatives, and we unfortunately we will continue. That will happen.
Yeah. More so as we get older as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I just think, so I wanted to explore with my art was the next? What was happening after we die? After what, is there another world? Is there another what happens?
Yeah.
And about 5 years ago, I actually realized that why don't I explore life now? Basically, because
Explore the present.
explore, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've been doing for the last 5 years, making a lot more color and making works a lot happier.
Yeah.
If you're passionate about art and you're driven and you're like a laser beam, and you're not afraid to sacrifice potentially some nice holidays and having lots of money initially, well then I think the most important thing is to create. Keep creating, make lots of mistakes, make hundreds of paintings. Maybe of 100 of those paintings, 20 of them might be really good.
Yeah.
It's like an author, I suppose. As long as they're writing, as long as they're flowing, then they're going to make some bad stuff. Like a tennis person.
Yep.
They probably do. They
practice their serving for hours on end until they get perfect. Yeah.
How many thousands of times do they hit that over?
Yeah.
And I think in some ways that's the same thing with art as well. It's about evolving, creating. And so I do know there are a number of New Zealanders who have pushed themselves, especially with Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah.
If you're not afraid to market yourself, now is the time to do it.
Not La Boheme, but I did a Dido and Aeneas at the Royal Academy of Music, and one of the big things was that they kind of spiced it up a bit, and we did a lot of dance moves throughout it, like contemporary, kind of not hip hoppy moves, but like
Crumping.
90s. Yeah, I mean,
no, crumping.
not crumping, but and so we had dance moves with it, and it was great because I was like, finally I can dance and do dance stuff. And actually one at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama, where I did my masters.
Yep.
You could do different join different projects which would go towards your masters, and one of the projects that I auditioned for and I wanted to do was the American Songbook, which was,
I've heard of that.
So the American Songbook
is
so we took songs out of there and we had other kind of operetta and more musical pieces, and the performance that we put on was fully choreographed, and we sung non-classical opera stuff. So it was a great project that I did alongside the other projects that I was doing in my masters that were, for example, French song and German lead, and also opera scenes, and doing my recital, and then doing this other project as well, which did go towards my masters. It was kind of curing that little itch I had to be able to do musical theatre again, because actually when I was growing up, I wanted to pursue musical theatre.
Really?
Yeah. So I remember doing a project that was in intermediate, I think, or early, intermediate, about where we saw ourselves going and what we wanted to do when we left school, and what were our goals. And mine was that I wanted to go to NASDA, which is the musical theatre school in Christchurch.
Yep.
And I did a full research project about how that's where I was going to go, because I was dancing, and I love dancing, and I love performing, I love musicals. Still love them, hands down love them. And then it wasn't until I changed teachers and joined, I started working with the late great Joan Kenaway, who was an opera singer and classically trained, and absolutely fantastic voice, like so inspiring. And I started doing more opera stuff, and started going down that path, and kind of found that I could do opera, and then I joined Opera North and was singing Opera North chorus here in Whangarei. And so even though I was still doing musicals and still dancing and love singing musical theatre, I thought, you know what, the best thing to do is do opera at university, and if I want to go back to musical theatre, I can.
Okay.
Have I done that? No.
Well, but
even though it's like literally the biggest dream, I would love to do musical theatre.
Is it something you could do though?
Definitely certain musicals, yes. The contemporary musicals that come out today, I would need to completely retrain.
Right. Okay.
But
so like Hamilton and that sort of.
Yeah,
like
that's
Oz
like
and those sorts of things.
completely. Oh, my favorite musical is Wicked. I know that might be contentious for some people, but it is just something that I know all the words for the whole thing. Like I would put it on driving down to Auckland when I was a teenager and just like listen to the whole soundtrack, and I still know all the words.
That's amazing.
Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I thought, if I do opera, I could go back to it.
Mm-hmm.
But there are musicals, like if I did the more traditional ones, like My Fair Lady and Oklahoma and Phantom of the Opera, and I could do
that's
those
Andrew
ones.
Lloyd Webber, eh? I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
Yeah, well done.
I had the very first song I ever sang for a performance piece at drama school was Music of the Night.
Great piece.
Yeah, it is. It's an amazing piece.
I actually love Phantom of the Opera. I think it's
great.
great.
Yeah, I think Michael Crawford, who was the original Phantom, with Sarah Brightman, is, for me, that magical duo was just untouchable.
Yeah. There's some great people doing it now. Like, it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
Some people, it's not opera. It's musical theatre.
It is. But there's very operatic themes and elements in there.
Ooh,
I think especially the way Sarah Brightman did it as well. It was incredibly operatic.
Yeah. Well, you've got like Carlotta, who's literally an opera singer.
Yes,
in the opera, and it's set in an opera house.
It is.
So
and it's in the title.
It's in
the title.
Oh,
yeah, there we go. That often gives it away as well.
Yeah, but it's more musical theatre singers that would do it, I would say, or crossover classical singers often do it. That have like a quality that has the musical theatre side to it as well.
Yeah.
So I would say like I would love to do it, and there's so many out there. Like a lot of like Sondheim musicals and stuff, like they're actually really tricky, and like Sweeney Todd. Oh, amazing!
The Demon Barber of Fleet Street.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of musicals that opera singers are kind of going into, and that you can do a lot of crossover, and like Carousel and Company. So yeah, I would love to do it, and maybe that's something I do later on. And no, I'm never gonna say no to it. I'm not gonna.
You're not going to pigeon yourself and say, this is my lane and I will exclusively stick here.
Yeah. Well, for opera, I have to, like, for the time being.
Yeah.
But say I get older and I get asked to do some cool role in something, and I think it is the right thing for me, and that it is with the right training background, I'm not going to jeopardize my voice, and I'm going to be able to sing how I sing.
Yep.
And that means that maybe that is a role in some musical, then sure.
Yep.
Why not?
From New Zealand, you went overseas. Well, actually, you did quite a bit here before you left, didn't you?
Yeah.
There was the... oh, man. It's all just gone.
I did university.
Did uni.
I did uni. I did my undergrad, did my honours in music, and then I also did a Bachelor of Commerce in accounting.
Yeah, but you've already, by the age of 5 or 6, you already worked out how to make money off mum and dad. Woohoo!
Yeah. Exactly.
I think that's called extortion. It's not, because it's your parents and it's fine.
Yeah, it was only 50 cents.
Exactly.
It was only 50 cents.
But back in those days, that's a good bag of lollies.
Hell
so yeah.
Hell, those tangy apples.
Yep.
Oh,
tangy
and
fruits.
Tangy fruits.
Yeah.
But the tangy apples that were in the paper, and you had tangy grapes as well.
Yep.
They were the best. I loved them. Do they still do them?
Producer Andrew is nodding his head saying yes, so I will say yes.
Well, I'm going to get some of those.
There you go.
Point.
Yeah, hell yeah. Take a bag with you back home.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yes.
So you did your honours in New Zealand. Yep. You also entered a few competitions. You entered a lot of competitions, really, didn't you?
A lot, yeah. Seems to be my thing. I was doing a lot it literally, like I said, from the age of 8, I did competitions everywhere, and I'd do them also around the country. I wouldn't just do Whangarei. I
Yeah.
would do like New Plymouth, Rotorua, Hamilton. But when I got older, after university and during university, I did Dunedin competitions, and then in my
You did national comps as well, right?
yeah, I did the Lexus Song Quest
Yes.
in 2016,
Yep.
and that was I just finished my final term of university, I think, at that point, and I made the semi-finals for that, which was really cool at being quite young at the time, and then I also would do New Zealand aria, which at one point I made the finals. Don't know what year that was, but yeah, I did a lot of competitions and the Wellington aria, and I won that in 2019, I think.
Yep.
And I did a lot in 2018. Also the National Young Performer Awards, I think, and I came third in that. Maybe that was 2018 before I left. So I did a lot of competitions growing up. I think what you learn from them is to bounce back. I think that's the biggest thing that
It's resilience, right?
huge resilience. So you wouldn't just do one song or one aria. You would do all the different classes, right? And you'd do the aria competition. So you may do one class in the morning, and you might absolutely stuff your piece up. It might not go well at all, and you've got another class in half an hour. And what do? Do you let that one song that you've just absolutely destroyed affect the next one? No, you have to like pick yourself up and keep going. And you might not place it all in a whole bunch of classes, and then do really well in another one. And I even remember, I think when I was when I won the Wellington aria, the Dame Malvina Major Foundation Wellington aria, they were the big sponsors at the time, that I don't even think I did very well in all the song classes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think I might have got a few placings here and there, or like thirds or highly commended or something. And I was like, oh God, I've got no shot in this aria. Like, I'm not, maybe I'm not quite the cup of tea of this judge.
Yeah.
But it absolutely was, and I won the aria, and it was just like, you can be good at certain things, and other people can have better songs and be singing better than you in certain things, or be more what the judge wants for that particular class. And the thing is, with competitions, you can never predict how it's going to go.
No.
You could think that you've sung the best that you think, and you're like, wow, I'm really happy with that, and then get nowhere, because it's so subjective. And they know what they want, and they go, that's what I want. And especially when everyone's kind of at a similar level, you may have a few like higher ones and a few lower ones, but like everyone's at a really high standard in this country, and so it's so subjective, and that's why I say it's about building resilience and grit and just determination just to keep going. That you just go, well, that wasn't their cup of tea, and I can't let it affect the next bit, or the rest of the weekend, or this next competition that I have to do in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
So, and there's a special type of, like, I think definitely you have sometimes really good competition singers, and some people just are not competition singers. They they find it really hard, and that's completely understandable. And even to this day, like, they're not easy, and you just,
I imagine when you're competing at that level, though, because, I mean, as you said, that's the top,
Yeah, in this country, yeah.
When you're competing at the top nationally, it might take you to be half a tone out on a note and have someone go, it's just not quite.
Yeah.
Because it's that precise, along with, what's the judge's mood for the day.
Yeah. I mean, I remember one competition that I did that one judge said to me, I can't remember exactly where it was, but she said, yeah, I had you in for second, and then you did something in that aria, and then I just couldn't give it to you. And I was like, okay, cool.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Brutal note.
yeah, but I was like, okay, fair enough. And
Right. Next.
literally next.
Yeah.
But yeah, and now I think about it, I also made the semis for the IFAC
Yes.
Handel Australian Young Singers competition as well, 2018, right before I left to London. So, you know, I was doing things in New Zealand and Australia, but yeah, with the competition scene and I worked with New Zealand Opera as well and their chorus, and did some stuff with Opera Otago, and yeah, and then I moved to London.
Well, now that's interesting in itself, because that's not, that's not just flying across to London for your OE.
Oh no.
That's taken that study, like, not up a notch. That's like a whole bracket.
Yeah.
That's next level stuff, and there's not many people that will be able to say, well, if you're an actor, it's like, I went and studied at RADA.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that comparable, right? You're like in the elite of the elite. You're competing against thousands of entrants from around the world for a handful of spots.
Yeah, pretty
and
much.
You got in.
I did. So in 2017, I did an audition tour around the UK, because you have to audition a year before you would start, right? So I was auditioning in November, December 2017 to start in September 2018.
Yep.
And I auditioned at Guildhall School of Music and Drama, the Royal Academy of Music, the Royal College of Music. Where else did I audition? I didn't do Royal Northern. I did Royal Scottish. So all the top conservatoires in the UK.
Yeah.
And some of the top conservatoires in the world.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And these are the elite. This is where, like, the pros go. Most people, when they think of female opera singers, Dame Kiri Kanawa, Dame Alvina Major.
Yep.
So you're up there.
Well, I mean,
you're getting there.
Well, I don't know if I can ever put myself in the category of those two fantastic people and amazing singers and the stuff they've done. I mean, I would love to eventually in my time, but those two are really the cream of the crop,
My son would say God tier.
Yeah, well, yes, absolutely. So, so I auditioned all these places and actually got in everywhere.
Wait, you got selected for all of them?
Yeah. So I got a place in all of them.
Yeah.
And then so what it came down to was how much money they were going to give me. Where I decided to go, because
scholarships and stuff
scholarships,
like that?
yeah.
Right.
Because
okay.
As an international student, to do your masters, it is £24,000 per year. So
Okay,
that was
right,
like
yeah.
that's 48,000 New Zealand dollars. That's just for the course.
That's not
per year.
living.
That's not living.
That's no food.
That's
no
not
accommodation.
Food, no accommodation. And like I really wanted to be in London. And so kind of I was like, okay, what do I have to do? I have to apply for scholarships here as well. And then Guildhall came through with a big chunk of money, about half. I was on like a half scholarship, the highest that they would give to international students, which was £12,000. So it's like half your the course fees. And so the rest of it, I fundraised for my first year, and I got some support from the Dame Alvina Major Foundation and the New Zealand Opera Foundation. They gave me some support, and most of the rest of it was fundraising. I did a boosted campaign. I did lots of concerts everywhere. I had some support from my parents when I really was in dire need, when money was running out.
Yeah.
And then, it wasn't until my second year of my master's that I got support from the Kiwi Music Foundation, which is they supported me, through my second year at Guildhall and my 2 years at the Royal Academy of Music. So they I can't thank them enough for the money that they have given me. Like, it literally would be impossible to do it without big scholarships.
Yeah.
As much fundraising as you do, it's literally unheard of.
Yeah,
the amount of money.
Those are mortgages, right?
Oh, the amount of money I have
Yeah.
dropped on my education is insane.
Yeah.
And it's not possible without the support of foundations in this
Yep.
country
Yep.
and foundations in the UK. I got supported by the Countess of Munster Foundation and then Help Musicians as well in the UK. So what was amazing in my second year of my master's, I was getting supported by UK foundations, which is really showing that I was like, okay, so this is cool. Like, I'm getting selected from people here as well. I'm competing against people in this country
Yep.
and international people in this country for these scholarships. It's not just New Zealanders now. And I was getting them, which was really amazing. And once again, without their support, it was literally impossible to live there, especially in London. Like, it is next level how expensive it is in London to live. Like, unheard of. So, that was the best thing, is that having that support. I wouldn't have done it without them.
But we were talking about all of the funding that you've had over the years. Now, you're in Florence. You're a paid employee, where you essentially sing and study and sing and then study more, right? Because you're essentially being tutored by people that have been doing it for decades.
Yeah.
Who? Yeah, that's the question I want to ask. If you were to think through your entire journey so far, because you've been doing it for 21 years, give or take, a while. Who do you think your biggest influences are? And who would you consider to be your mentor or mentors?
I would say, like, my biggest influence, I said this earlier, that that really got me into singing opera was Joan Kenaway, who from here, Whangarei, and Rick Kenaway. But she was just like, the way that she sung and the voice that she had on her and her passion for music and her passion for teaching and her just joy around it all, like, she made it seem achievable in ways that, like, I don't know whether at that age I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it as a job, or whether I'll ever get to a level, whether I still will get to a level that it's like a full-time thing. But she instilled that it could be a possibility. And just the sounds. I remember her singing Beehre from The Merry Widow, because originally Dame Malvina Major was coming up and she was a guest artist at the Opera in the Garden.
Yep.
And Joan sung it for one of our rehearsals because Dame Malvina Major wasn't there yet. And she sung it, and I just thought, wow, she might have been like 70 at the time.
Okay.
And just the sound that she was creating was just absolutely spectacular. It was stunning. It was precise. It was technically correct. It was just the most beautiful sound. And I just knew that I wanted to create sounds like she was creating. And that, like, that I could, because she was teaching me and she taught me how to really, like, float the sound and create these beautiful timbres to my voice that were naturally there, but were always there, but she brought them out, right? And this technique of not pushing and really just floating the voice, that came from her. And then that was developed more, and my teacher Frances Wilson, before I left, who's at the Orknop studio, she trained me for my last 2 years of my degree, and then when I did 2 years between my undergrad and my master's at the Orknop studio, she was also of the mindset that Dame's sister Mary Leo, who was the teacher of Kiri Te Kanawa,
Oh, wow.
Dame Malvina Major, Joan Kenaway,
Yeah.
and Frances Wilson is a pianist, and she used to play for her lessons. So all this
Wow.
teaching from this old teacher, the Sister Marileo, the same way that Kiri Te Kanawa sings, the same way that Dame Malvina Major sings, the same way that Joan was singing, was then getting passed on to me, not putting myself at all in the realms of those people, but the teachings that they were this light, beautiful ability to float, and the sounds, and just really singing with your voice. And to this day, I think one of the special things that I think that you get asked a lot in your training, what's your USP, what's your unique selling point? And I think the one thing as an artist, it's very hard to do that, and hard to say, what am I?
We were
what's
talking about that
What's
before,
my
weren't
good
we?
thing? You
Yeah.
know, what's my one thing that like makes me different?
Self-promotion, yeah.
Self-promotion, or just not being arrogant by saying, oh, maybe this is what I do well. You know, what makes me different. But I think one thing that does make me different is something that I have been told by a lot of all the agents that have come into Masquerade in the past 3 months. They've all said the same thing, and it's my top notes and the timbre and the quality of my high notes. They're like, it's very kind of like airy and beautiful. Ethereal, yeah, kind of. And I do think that's what makes me different to some other sopranos, is like that timbre of that sound that I have that is naturally there, but also I think was embraced and developed through my trainings with Joan Kenaway, and then with Frances, and then with later teachings in London as well. They really developed that more, and didn't ever want me to lose that, because that was what made me different, and is what probably makes me different, and why singing roles such as Titania I love, because things that sometimes other sopranos find difficult, I find easier. And like doing that quite high ethereal kind of stuff, and I love it because it's kind of like spooky and interesting, and but yeah, I would say Joan was really that fundamental inspiration for me. And obviously going forward now, she's not here, but I know she's watching over us and seeing all these wonderful things that I'm doing and things, and but ongoing inspirations is my colleagues, and seeing all these amazing things that people at my age or at my level or the level above are doing. And when you're constantly around it, and these incredible singers, like I'm just surrounded by incredible singers, it just makes you want to keep working and fix that one thing, and it's not a competitive thing. It's purely like an inspiration and a drive.
A healthy competition, right?
Yeah, well,
because when one of you gets better, you lift the rest of the people up, and then if another one, like if someone else is able to hit something else better, you kind of lift everyone up, and essentially you're helping lift each other up to be at the absolute A game.
Yeah, if you have that mindset, because some people don't have that mindset,
It's
and
a
they
cutthroat competition.
Yeah, you know, and it really is. But
Kill 'em
like,
all.
Yeah, but I think especially what I'm really lucky with being at Masquerade Opera Foundation as a resident artist is that all the people that are my colleagues there are all of that mindset, that like we're not competing against each other. First of all, I mean, in my year, I'm the only soprano in the first year, so it's one of each voice type.
Right, okay.
But seeing them do well, it's just like, oh, I want to do well too. And seeing them create these amazing sounds, you know, it's inspiring. And having a team behind you, like I do with Dr. Ralph Strainer and Julia Lynch and Jonathan Papp, it's like a team, an artistic team that just wants you to do well, and get better and put you in front of people, and they want the best for you. And so it's kind of like you've got agents as well as being in an opera studio. But I think biggest inspiration is just being around incredible singers that are also your friends. That's the amazing thing.
The cutthroat competition part's essentially done, right? Because I'm having done creative school. You kind of have that. Oh, we'll work together as a team.
Yeah.
There's a great saying that I always sort of liked, and when I studied, I found it very applicable. The throat you crush on the way up belongs to the ass you kiss on the way down.
Oh my gosh.
But
Yeah.
because in creativity, whether it be music or dance or drama or any of the disciplines, when you're in a school environment, it's I'm gonna do anything I can to get one up because I want to get noticed because I want to go here and I want to do this and that. But now that you're in the masquerade, is that right? Masquerade?
Yeah, masquerade upper foundation. Yeah.
That cutthroat competition's essentially done. Because that's the schooling part, right? You do your degree, your honours, your masters.
Yeah.
That side of things is done. Now you're at the point where you're like, I can learn with equals who are peers, and I'm not forking out an arm and a leg to learn. I'm getting paid to learn.
Yeah. I would say yes and no. I think when I did my opera school at Royal Academy of Music, because that was kind of like a transition into the opera scene, into the industry,
right?
That we were actually, for those 2 years, in my year there was only 9 of us. And
nine
from
the world.
Yeah.
Whoa.
But they have like opera schools. I'm like going to talk down. They have opera schools at Guildhall, and they have opera schools at college, and at the top.
Different levels.
Well, they're all at a high level. All the opera schools are all at a really amazing level.
Yeah.
But they'll have one at each of the conservatoires. So it's like the next level if you follow opera.
Right.
And they'll have 2 years of it, and the max usually each opera school will take is 10 people per year. And so I was at Academy doing it, and I felt that like when I was there, that was kind of the competitive nature also kind of gone, because I was selected as one of, I think there was 3 sopranos in my year, and that was on full scholarship. So, and then essentially everything, my living costs were all scholarship as well. So it kind of felt like I was getting paid to study anyway, because I wasn't really working. I was lucky enough to
you've done no need for fundraising and all that sort of stuff, right?
No,
it's all paid for. You've got, the financial burden is lifted.
Yeah. I mean, I would do some like ushering if I needed extra money that wouldn't be covered by my scholarships for my living and stuff. But so I think being at Masquerade, it's the competitive nature is kind of gone, but you're still constantly competing for roles. You're constantly, when you do auditions, you're in the environment that you want to sing well because they might have seen someone that has sung better, which you have no control over, right?
Yeah,
literally
none
zero.
at all.
And you also have no idea how everyone else is singing. So when you go into these auditions, all you can do is do your best.
Yeah.
And whatever that is, and it might be perfect for them, and it might be like, great, we think I want that on our stage, or I want to represent you, or they might have seen someone else that they like better. So like there's always an underlying competition somewhere that you don't know who you're competing with, really, you know.
Okay.
Or if you're doing competitions, you do directly know who you're competing with because you're doing a competition, which is still a huge thing at this level, and because I'm still on a young artist kind of level, I am a really young singer, even though
29. That's
young. Sometimes I think I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm getting old, and I turn 30 next year, and I always say to my director, I'm like, I'm getting so old. He's like, no one cares how old you are. Literally, no one cares it's coming, because you've the type of soprano you are, you've got a fresh voice, you still look fresh. Like, literally, don't worry about it. But I'm like, oh my gosh. But in the opera scene, that's young. I am a young artist.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes coming from New Zealand, when you do stuff here and you go overseas, you're like, oh, I must be old. But you get in the world and you're like, I'm so young. There's still so much that I need to learn, and I will always be learning, literally always be learning, which is exciting, to be fair. Every day I learn something new, which keeps it always different, you know?
Yeah.
I'm very, very lucky.
Well, there you go, everyone. Our second week of amazing Northland artists and musicians, ones that have been in the region, whether they've either visited or if they've just or if they're based here or if they call this place home. It's lovely to have so again, such a wonderfully eclectic range of artists, from electronica through to R&B, through to acoustic, through to very classical opera as well, and also modern opera too. So fantastic. This series has gone incredibly well so far. Thank you so much for all your support. We've really appreciated it. I'm going to flick to my camera now. The wonderful thing about this is this is a 25th anniversary celebration of New Zealand Music Month. So this is something a little bit cool, a little bit different for us, and we appreciate all the love that's sort of been given to us so far. Absolutely amazing. So where can you find this podcast and all our other podcasts? Well, you can go to Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. That's all the video sort of side of things. You can check it out, Northland Artists Conversation, all one word. For the audio, you can find us on Facebook. Not Facebook. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube Podcasts. Again, Northland Artists Conversation. We would love to hear from you. The even easier way is to just go to Google or your browser of choice. Type in Northland Artists Conversation, one word or all three, totally fine. You'll see us there. Just check us out. And if you're an artist and you'd like to be on the podcast, or if you've been on the podcast before and you want to come back, man, we'd love to have you. So please feel free to email hello@northlandartistsconversation.co.nz. Super simple. Or just reach out to us on our socials. Either way, someone will get in touch with you. So there we go, guys. Keeping the outros pretty short and pretty sweet on this one. It's really, really cool to do something different from what we would normally do. It's 25 years of New Zealand Music Month, which started off as a small little initiative by the government to get more New Zealand music on the radio and on the TV, has been going for 25 years. So thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. On behalf of editor Lee J, producer Andrew, and engineer Steve, my name is Mark Kelly from the Northland Artists Conversation. Thank you so much for checking us out. We'll see you guys real soon.